Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Yay, testing out my YouTube and my Facebook Live, doing some painting for Dwarven Forge. Yeah, first of all, I want to apologise for the weird sound in the background that you might be hearing. That is my 3D printer that I had hoped would be finished by now, but still seems to have about 30 minutes left on it. Yeah, hopefully sound and everything are okay. So let me know if you have any issues hearing me. I might have to swap the mic over. I'll just give people a chance to come along. So today I'm going to be painting up some of the prototypes from Dwarven Forge. They very kindly sent me a couple of pieces over to paint up and to show off for them. They have a Kickstarter on at the moment, which is very, very cool. As you can see, if you've been someone who watches my Twitch channel, you'll see that the setup for this is very different. There's only one camera, and that's just the down-facing one that's going to look at the thing that we're painting, rather than my face, which does mean that I get a little bit more space to paint because I haven't got to set things up so that you can see both me and the thing that I'm painting. So yes, it's just this today, and we're streaming in both Facebook and YouTube at the same time by the power of magic. If you have any questions or anything, just feel free to talk in the chat. I will see those comments and I'll pop them up on screen. If you have any questions at all, let me know and I will try and answer them the best I can. So this is from the Wildlands Kickstarter, which is their newest, Dwarven Forge's newest Kickstarter, and it sort of features a lot more scatter and a lot more sort of bits to create larger areas. And they have like swamps, they have forests, they have caverns and dungeons. So really you can sort of build the thing that you're after. And they are aiming this time at like war gamers as well as D&D players. So they've sort of designed some maps and things that you can use for when you're doing war games as well. So you can build your scenery up with those. But today I am painting up. So I'm painting up this cavern scatter, these rocks. And also this Royal Rowan Tree, which I had to glue together and do some resin to, because it's a prototype, it's not made of the Dwarvenite material, but it's pretty cool. So it's a little bit lighter, a little bit sort of more delicate, but you can still see like there's some really beautiful detail in that one. So I'm going to paint that one up as well. We're going to start with this one because this one's nice and easy. So just the scatter terrain for one of the caverns. So just some rocky bits. I'm going to be, so I'm going to start with some dark colours. I'm going to go with concrete grey. So most of the colours I'm going to be using today are Instar Paint, who are a UK-based company. I really like their paints. They come in all different sizes as well, so very cool. You can get, you know, giant ones if you. I got a giant black and white one because I use them quite a lot, and then the slightly smaller ones. But you can get like little tiny sample things, sort of slightly big ones. So because it's in a cavern, I'm going to start with the greys, and then we're going to build up some greens in there and go from there. So starting with my 0 brush. Just going to add the colour. Again, if you're just tuning in, apologies if you can hear the horrible noise in the background. It should be over soon. It's my 3D printer and I can't move it, and it's meant to be finished by now and it has not finished, but it should be finished very, very soon. Apologies if that's putting you off a little bit. I'll try and talk over it all the time so you can't really hear it. I just think it's backing music. So the install paints are quite thin. You don't have to thin them down before you start applying them, which is really nice. I don't know if anyone's like me, but I always like over thin the paints and it's very stressful. But these are pre-thinned. Once I start dry brushing this, you'll be able to see all the really lovely detail that's been sculpted into these. The handle that I'm using is red grass from one of their recent Kickstarters. It has this top bit that pops on and off, so I can use it with multiple things. You'll see that I'll use it with the Rowan Tree later as well. And it has like a turny thing, so I don't have to turn it in my hand. I'm still getting used to that because I'm used to using paint handles where you do have to turn it in your hand. I'm getting there. Hey, hello. Hi, Christopher. Thank you. Thanks for coming along and for watching. Yeah, I'm really excited that I got asked to paint these up. It was really cool of them to ask, like especially because I'm in the UK, so like Dwarven Forge it's not something I can normally get for myself because shipping and taxes and things. So yeah, when I was contacted and asked if I wanted to paint up some stuff, I was like, yeah, of course I will. So yeah, I'm excited to get on with these today. Oh, it's a cool perk of being an amazing artist. Getting to work with the best in the business. I am very lucky. Yeah, Nate, who is the creative director, is also one of my patrons. So yeah, he's been watching my stuff, and yeah, I'm very lucky to be catching eyes. I did some stuff for WizKids earlier on in the year for the D&D live. If you caught that, so the WizKids things that were painted were some of them were mine. The Yeti, the Skeleton King, and the Mammoth, which were all shown on the day. They were all mine, which was very exciting. So yeah, I've been lucky, very lucky. So I got to remember, keep talking over the terrible 3D printer sound. So annoyed that that's still going on. Thought I'd timed it right yesterday when I started it. Obviously not. So my plan is to do like this base coat and then start adding some highlights, and then I'm going to shade it and then do more highlights, and then I'll probably shade it again, add in some sort of greens rather than just sort of browns and dark tones. It's like, you know, stone isn't all just grey. There's many colours, especially in a cavern. Oh, thank you. That's really kind of you. I'm sort of just getting back into the swing of it. So I had a bit of a blip, sort of when lockdown started. Like loads of people were like, "Yay, finally, time to paint my minis," and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to do anything." Like, I mean, I worked for, and I'm still working from home through the beginning of lockdown, but I just lost my mojo completely. Didn't want to go near paints. And in the last sort of couple of weeks, I started to get a feel for it again and wanted to do some streaming. Normally on Twitch, it's very stressful. So moving away from Twitch and onto YouTube and Facebook makes it a little less techie for me, which helps with the stress. And it automatically saves in those places, so I don't have to think about, oh, I've got to download that and then I've got to re-upload that somewhere. They're saved, so I don't have to worry. And I don't have to show my face, so that's nice. Which means I don't have to try and make myself look at least a little bit presentable. I could be wearing my pajamas right now and nobody would know. I am using a thin brush, so I'm using a 0, and that's just because I really like this brush. Like, you could probably, like, maybe it would have been easier for me if I painted this with a thicker brush, but I really like this brush. I use it for almost everything, so fine detail or larger detail. Just it's just very nice bristles to it, and yeah, so I find I use it for everything. But yeah, by all means, like, don't think, oh, I got to do this in a 0 as well. Like, you can use a larger, you know, like a 2 or a 3 would, you know, probably cover it easier. But it does, I mean, as you said, like, it does get into all the little nooks and crannies of this piece, and because these are all like hand sculpted, they do have like lots of nooks and crannies to them, so you know that you're sort of really getting in there. PJ party on stream, nothing wrong with that. Exactly. But on Twitch, like, I always felt very like exposed, you know, like, it's a big platform, people can like come along at any point, and I don't know, it feels a little bit more relaxed doing these. I did quite a few streams over the UK Games Expo weekend, and doing them on YouTube and Facebook Live, it just felt more relaxed, more informal, like, you know. And like, Twitch had become a bit stressful in the fact that also it's quite monotonized, and so you are thinking about like streamers and who's donating and things like that, and you can't just sort of enjoy the paint. Like, here, you can't get money from YouTube until you've got like 1,000 at least followers, subscribers. It's like, well, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I'm quite happy with my 100 odd, which I got yesterday, which was just amazing. Though you are the only one watching, sadly. Oh. Okay, it's early days still. People will come, hopefully. And the good thing about these as well, because it's recorded as it's going live, it means that I can direct people to it later. So, and you know, they don't have to sign in to watch it, or they don't have to do anything. You can just click on the link and it will take you there, and people can save the video if they want, add it to playlists, and it feels like it will be around longer. Yeah, exactly. It feels more like work instead of play. Twitch does. Like, I'm not very tech savvy. I don't have a high powered computer. Like, I run this through my little laptop. Like, the camera I use here is pretty nice. It was pretty expensive, but that's because I wanted something that had like autofocus and high definition, so you can see nicely like what I'm painting. But I'm not super technical. I don't have that sort of capability. And also, when you're streaming on your own, even if I was tech savvy, like, I couldn't control the stream and paint. So it's much easier to just do it this way, and then all I have to do is look at the chat and keep up with comments. And StreamYard lets me, as you've probably seen, lets me click on your comments, and then they pop up here, so I can see. Not only can I see, but like other people can also see later on what it was I was talking about, because it doesn't record the chat. So, which is good if someone starts, you know, swearing in my chat or being rude. At least it's not saved on the screen. Another good thing about using a little brush is by the time I've finished the bit that I did at the very beginning will be dry. So just adding the black makes the texture look really alien or foreign, like seeing obsidian shards jut forth from the earth. Yeah, so I'm not sure like how this will be painted in like the Kickstarter, but it does look sort of almost like obsidian, like not just your normal sort of rock face. Like, you can see where they've like scraped all this detail into it. So yeah, that's going to be really nice when I start dry brushing to pick up that detail. And I have promised myself that I will remember to add details about the paints and everything to the notes, especially on YouTube, with links and things. Should you be interested in the paints or anything else that I'm using, I'll make sure to link it. And that's not sponsorship, that's just because I use them. But sometimes people are interested in the type of, they see a paint being used and they want to know where it's from. Right, so that's that done. Right, so I've just got to let that dry, and then actually I won't let it dry, I'll start working on it straight away. So I'm going to use a cement grey, which is, as you might guess, sort of a, again the Rowan Tree, sort of a lighter grey, but only just. Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for coming along. I appreciate you popping on just to say hello. I shall put it up. It will be available Facebook Live and also YouTube, sort of as soon as the broadcast ends. So you'll be able to catch up whenever you wish. It was nice to see you in the chat. I'm being a bit rough with this. Like, I'm not, you know, it's meant to be natural, so it doesn't need to be this beautiful thing. But also, we're going to be going over it with some shade, some washes. So, like, at the moment, I'm just sort of planning really where things will be highlighted and where they won't. Just got to go around the edges. Yeah, just, yeah. So I'm not worrying too much about blending at the moment. I'm just getting a feel for the lines. See, like, I'm just following the where they've scratched the texture in. I'm just trying to follow those lines a bit. So that it all sort of blends in. Or it will do once I've got a wash on it. And we're being a bit messy. Like, no time to be neat right now. I haven't actually seen, I know they sent out some stuff to other people as well. I'd be interested to see how other people have painted these up. I should go and have a look on Twitter afterwards. Do some comparisons. Oh, hi, Mike. Do you prefer a certain brand of brush these days? I'm using Artist Opus. The Zero I really like. The One has just been, it's just knackered. Like all of the bristles have fallen out. But the Zero I really like. So I find that I'm using that a lot. I also really like Watercolors. They do Watercolors do these lovely sable hair wooden handled ones, which are really nice in your hand, and they're really long. So they're the two that I prefer using, the two brands. But I mean, I've got pots full of brushes. Like, it just depends what I'm doing as well. If it's something that I can just use, like, because I need a knackered old brush, and I've got plenty of knackered old brushes. I really like the Citadel dry brushes. I don't know why. I always find them best for me when I'm doing dry brushing. I get the best results from those. So I use those a lot as well. But yeah, mainly these Artist Opus ones. I've got their dry brush kits as well. Their dry brush ones are a little bit. They're a weird shape, so they take a little bit of getting used to, and I just haven't got used to them. But this is their M series, I think. M series, yeah. Yes, they're natural, so they're sable hair and bristles. Yeah, I mean, I only have two. So like this pot here, this is all my like thin brushes. These are all actually new ones that I haven't actually used. And then these are my dry brushes and my slightly knackered brushes. So, but yeah, I literally mainly just use this one brush for like everything. I really like it. Like if I need to go small, I've got a couple of smaller ones as well, but like normally it's got a nice tip to it, so you can do like, you know, pupils and things with it. So that's just added like a little bit of highlight, and now I'm gonna put a shade over the top of it. I think we're gonna might start with a slightly, actually I'll use strong tone first, and then I'm going to move on to I've got like a military green somewhere. It's all strong tone. There we go. I've got Rowan Tree. Stay upright. Stay upright. So yeah, I've got this one and a strong tone. So I'm going to use a slightly thicker brush for the tone. Need something that's like when I'm using unless I'm doing like fine detailed work, I just use like quite a big brush. This is a 6. Is a little knackered. but it's all right for shoving a shade onto. And I want to start dabbing it first into all of the cracks before I start putting it over the whole thing. Let it really like sit in there, and then pull it over the rest of the rock. That's still. Oh, hey, good evening. Hey. I must go. Yeah, so I really like these washes. They're, they're cheap. And the ones that I really like are the Strong Tone, which is this one I'm using now, which is a bit like the Agrax Earthshade for Citadel, but cheaper. And they got like a soft tone, which is a very light brown, which is really good for like skin, for adding just like shading around the eyes. So once I've had that sitting in there a while, now I'm going to start bringing it up. I don't want to like add too much. I want to use what's already on the model as much as I can without like just little bits. Keep the tone like darker towards the bottom and just bring it up. Yeah, they're cheap. Like it's like sometimes they're too thick, and I have to, I have like a, what you call it, Lamium medium, the Citadel stuff, which works well to sort of thin them out sometimes if they appear a little thick. But I don't do I normally I only really use washes all over for like terrain bits. Normally I'm only just adding a small amount like into crevices of like clothes or the eyeballs or something to make them stand out without being too like heavy like paint would be. And then add a bit darker into some of these bottom bits. Sometimes this one does dry a little shiny though. That's the only issue I have, but you can just go over it with a matte varnish afterwards. It's not tacky or anything, it just seems sometimes, I think it depends on the weather really. If it's warm in here, it seems to be a bit shinier when it dries. I don't want to put the fan on because I don't want you to have to compete with the sound of the fan and the sound of my 3D printer. So that's just got to dry a bit now. I'm gonna remove that. That's really easy to remove. So that can go over. Actually, I'm going to put that near the window so it's a little bit cooler. Maybe it'll dry. I'll have a little glass of water quickly. So this is the Royal Rowan Tree. So I got it, and unfortunately it was in pieces because it's a prototype. It's much more fragile than the Dwarvenite stuff. But I've managed to stick it all together, and I filled in the gaps with some, a little bit of not green stuff, white stuff. So yeah, we're going to start painting. So I'm going to do the base of the tree in like a dark brown, and then we're going to build that up. But I want it to have like an ashy look. So after I build up the browns, I am going to like dry brush it with a light light browny sort of colour. Over there. Which one did I pick out? Yeah. So I'm going to use a camo brown from Insta to do the trunk of the tree. And the leaves, I'm going to give them a bit of an autumnal colour. So I've got like some really nice oranges and reds. So camo brown, give it a good shake. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, like this handle's really cool. It's actually really comfortable, and once you get used to spinning it, it means that even like big things like this aren't quite so awkward. I'm gonna try and move this up just a little bit. There you go, so you get the whole of the tree in. It's a beast, so I mean, if you want to know, so that's like a 32 mil, and it is really detailed. Like the leaves are really pretty. And it's got like little mushrooms growing on it, little like bits of moss. I think there was a bird's nest somewhere in there as well. I saw earlier. There's a little nest with some eggs in it. Yeah. So it's really cool, really lovely. It's got like moss and vines and all sorts of lovely things growing up it. So I may use a bigger brush just because that rock took me ages. Use a 3. Because at the moment I'm just going to cover it all with this dark brown first. Do you have an affiliate link before I buy those tones? I don't, unfortunately. I am not affiliated with anyone. Sad, sad, sadness. If you're watching and you want to sponsor me, yeah, you feel free. Give me a code, do some cool stuff. But no, sadly, Army Painter are not sponsoring me. This, I'm just saying, I like them because I do. Yes, buy away. I maybe might suggest if you can get them from like Mighty Lancer Games. Nathan. Oh no, I broke it. That's my bad. Again, fragile. Let's glue that quickly together. Sorry, it was coming off. Terrible. Should have maybe pinned that bit. I had a feeling that it might be a bit. It's fallen off a few times. Note to self, don't grab it by the branches. Alright, I'll leave that to dry. Yeah, sponsor me someone. Do it, do it. But yeah, sadly no sponsors at the moment. Maybe next year. I'm just going to paint it all. Including the mossy bits on the branches. We'll get into that up later. I think again I'm going to wash it with the military green rather than a brown, just to make it look a little bit more natural rather than just brown on brown, which actually tends to make things look a little bit flat. This handle thing isn't working so well for this tree. It's getting a bit top heavy. Could have maybe pinned the tree. Maybe that would have been better. Oh well, power of hindsight. Right. I think with this one, what I'll do is I'll rather than so with the rocks, I sort of started adding some highlights and then I went over it with a wash and to blend the highlights. What I'll do with this one is just put a wash over it, let that dry, and then start probably dry brushing some colours into it. Because if you're back in the Kickstarter and you get these, you know you probably don't want to spend 12 hours painting the tree. I don't know, you might. And that's cool if you do, but you probably have bought quite a lot of stuff, and yeah, probably spending 6 hours painting one tree is not the way to go. So I'll try and do like a how to paint this relatively quickly-ish and still have it be of an acceptable standard. I'm probably going to use this myself for I'm trying to build a I've got like this photo frame thing, and I want to build like a scenic I was thinking like a castle, and then I'd put miniatures in it, and then have it as a display piece, like with my miniatures like permanently situated in it. Oh dear, that stuff's melted onto that. Super sticky. Sugar plums. Okay, I'm going to paint that one separately and then stick it on. There we go. It's not sticking. Probably need to pin it, and I don't want you all to see me struggling to pin that branch from. The ridges in this are quite deep, so you do have to make sure you get it all the way into them. Which is why I sort of primed it in a light colour so that I could see through like where I'd missed it. Is it metal or resin? It's resin, but it's because it's a prototype. It's just it's quite a fragile resin. So the stuff that the actual ones from the Kickstarter are made of are sort of a really strong resin plastic that they've formulated themselves. Call it Dwarvenite, and it's really strong. But yeah, unfortunately, this, because they were shipping it from the USA to me here in the UK, it did get a little bit broken by FedEx, sadly. But, yeah, it's quite, because this bit's quite heavy, it sort of just falls off a little bit. I had sort of gone round it with a bit of like plastic putty, that obviously hasn't kept it in place enough. Has lots of interesting angles as well, in which you try and get through to get all the paint on. So I'm not touching the leaves at all with the brown, because I'm not doing it neat either, but the red I'm going to use for the main like base of the leaves is going to be able to go over that brown. But I'm going to do all of the bark before I make a start on the leaves, just because it's quite fiddly, like these areas, and if I start on the leaves and then ruin it by dry brushing in the wrong bit, I'll be sad. I am so sorry my 3D printer is still going. It's very, very annoying. It's so close to being finished. It's so annoying. The slicing program I use is like never correct. The soft squeaking noise, yes, that is my 3D printer. I'm printing out some terrain bits, so it's my ender rather than my resin. So yeah, I forgot how noisy they were. I've not printed anything on it for a really long time, and I forgot how noisy it can be. Depending on how long this takes, I might do another stream tomorrow morning to finish it off. So this might actually be in 2 parts. Just having a think about the fact that it's taken me an hour to do the first layer of the rock, and if I can get all of the rock done and a bit of the trunk, then I can look at doing the leaves tomorrow on an additional stream. Right, let's quickly paint this one up. So you see when it broke, it has snapped like really clean. It's just irritating that that's happened. It also means that overnight I can pin this and glue it back on. Otherwise it's just going to keep coming off. Unless I make it look like it's fallen off. Oh no, it's been hit by lightning. Okay, it is very. I'm hoping it feels very loud to me, but I did change my microphone, so the microphone that I'm using is actually the one in the camera, which is right next to my mouth. So I was like, oh, maybe if I use this one, then no one will be able to hear it because the microphone is right next to my gob, and if I just keep talking, it won't pick up the 3D printer sound. Because to me, it sounds like the printer sound is just the loudest thing in the world. But if you say it's quite quiet, then hopefully it'll be quiet on the recordings. Right, tree you can. Oh no, there's a big bit over there in the. Haven't got at all. But check. Oh, that's all coated now. Right. So that's the first layer of the Rowan Tree. Is it the? Is it the? No, it's not. It's not got the egg. It's not got the nest in it. Phew. It's the nest is over here. It's that's the nest. Oh well, that does make me feel a lot better. That everyone is not just like, oh my god, what's Angie doing on this stream? It's just so loud and squeaky. It's really irritating because it said it was going to take like 14 hours and it's been like 26. So it's like, oh, you were really off. Right, okay. So as you can see, the like I said, like sometimes it dries quite shiny, which it's done, but it is dry. Okay, so I'm gonna start doing some dry brushing, building up some colours. And for that, I'm going to use a bigger brush. So again, Citadel, but this is their medium brush. I don't have one of their large ones actually. I thought I had a large, but got a medium. Where is it? I'm going to use some of this, mainly because I have it to hand. My favourite one, the Terminus Stone, dried out. It's like brand new, really irritating. So this is just going to be like the first coat of dry brush, and so we're going to try and bring out all of the scratches and the texture that Dwarven Forge have created in these. And then we're going to go over it with another shade, but with green, to give it some sort of dark, like wet cavern feel. So you can start to see those textures that they put in. And using a bigger brush means that it takes less time. So you can see those textures now that they've scratched into the rocks. These look pretty cool. So I'm going to use some military shader, sort of like a browny green. And again, a bigger brush. You just sort of dabbing it. And again, not like coating everything, but and really it's sort of playing it by eye with this. You don't want to coat all of the stone, you just want to add a little hint of the green, like randomly. Like, don't overthink the color. It's, you know, it's meant to look natural. If you're thinking, oh, where am I going to put this bit, where am I going to put this bit, it no longer becomes natural. It, you know, it looks forced, it looks staged. So you can see like there's like little hints of like a browny green on there now. And then I'm going to use I like slightly brighter green. I've got a slightly red brown. So this one is just green tone, so it's brighter. I'm not going to use a lot of this, but just so some of the shade where I put it against the lighter bit of stone, just to bring it out a little bit. You don't want to put too much because it is really bright and it will look less natural if you coat the whole thing in a bright green. And then this mid brown, I don't use this one very often. It's quite red. I'm going to mix, I'm going to put it over the top on my palette where the greens were, so And then once this is dry, I'm going to dry brush it again, but with less grey. I'm going to mix some brown in with the grey, I think, that I used, and build that up. The brown in there. It's just a bit darker. I don't know if you can actually pick up, if the camera's actually picking up that there's some green in there. And as with everything else, I'm going to put tufts on it because, you know, I love tufts. Right, okay. How's this tree looking? Okay. I'm going to dry brush this one as well. I'm going to use a clean brush. This has got, what I normally do is I keep my brushes, like for dry brushing, if I'm doing them over and over the same bit, I like to let the colour sort of build up on the brush so that next time I put a colour on, it's got a little tiny bit of the colour I used before. So I'm going to use a fresh brush for this one. Okay, good. No, it's too red. Actually, this colour. It's like a orangey brown. It's quite thick, so it's good for dry brushing. One thing with Insta paints is that they're quite thin, and so it's difficult to dry brush with them. I just want to start picking up the texture. I don't want to like flood it with colour. Again, just I like to try and build up the colours quite slowly, adding lots of colours into it rather than like layering one, layering two. That's still wet, so I'm just going to leave that one for the moment. Don't try and dry brush that because it's not ready. think this milk chocolate is going to be like not the right colour for what I want. Oh, where's my little pokey stick? No, that's too big. There's the little pokey stick. And then I've lost my little pokey stick. Paper clip. Mixed a little bit of it with the colour I just dry brushed. Yeah, that's right. Again, like with the rocks, don't like overthink it. Like you start thinking, what does a tree look like? You just, it's going to stop. One, it's going to stop being fun, and two, it's going to look weird because you've overthought the colours and things. Just have fun with the colours. Go a little crazy. I'm going to be super controversial in a minute and do some purple shading. Right, so that's like the main dry brushy bit. So I've got just built up a couple of colours so you can see some of the textures. You start seeing the vines and things. Hopefully you can all see that. So yeah, so I was going to do something a little bit colour. So I'm going to use the rocks are falling over. I'm going to use a little bit of purple tone, and I'm going to put it in like some of these bits. So where the trunk sort of twists, I'm just putting the purple into those bits. And it sounds crazy, but I kind of think it's going to work. We'll see. And because it's just going to add like some nice shadow. Right. There, that's the purple done. And then I'm going to use some more of that military green, especially around like the bottom, the base here, where there is going to naturally be like greenery. Right, that's looking good. Right, let's go back to this one. So it's just a little bit wet still. I think all the browns I've got are like too brown. Let's just add a little bit of that. That's still grey. Might put a little bit of, actually, that army grey is slightly green to it. So it's grey, but it's got just a pinch of grey. Maybe if I mix it with the grey that's already on there, it'll give it a little something. My 3D printer's finished. Hurrah! What I don't know is there's like this hole here. You see that? I'm guessing that's for something from the Kickstarter, like that sits in it. It might be because they have those like big ones that float on plastic spikes. So maybe you put that in there and then there's like a floating island above it, which is cool. But I don't know what that's for. I'm going to fill it in because I don't have a floating island to put on it. I'm just going to put some big tufty bits down there. Yeah, it's pretty cool looking actually. I quite like. The camera isn't really picking up like the greenness that I've added onto it, which is a little bit of a shame. You can sort of see it a little bit, I think, when the light hits it, right? But I think it will focus. But a nice big chunky bit of scatter. Right. Back to the tree. So still need to wait for those bits to dry. This is still drying. Right. Let's plan. I'm going to put that lighter colour on. Forgot I had that. I don't know if you've, like, any of you have been using these recently, but I've been using them quite a bit for as glazes, for adding just like a little tiny pop of colour. And I found them really nice, actually. I've got like a little mix of some colours, like yellows and oranges and things that are hard to make a shade of. I really like them for that purpose. Right, I'm going to use this sort of very light brown. It's going to help to bring out the bits that I need to paint later on, like the vines and things. Which, actually, looking at the time, I could probably get started on the vines and then do the leaves tomorrow. Right, okay, so I'm going to use I've not used this one before, it really needs shaking up. So, because I've lightened up those, like these vines and things, I'm just gonna use the contrast over it, because it's also got like the darker brown underneath, which will give it like varying tones. It's cheating a little bit, but you know, that's what the contrast is made for. and then we'll go into more detail with it later. But just so you sort of get an idea of where things are. So hopefully you can see, yeah, so because this is really thin, it just sort of sinks into the paint below it, looking a little bit more natural than if I just sort of plonked a green paint over the top. But we're going to, be adding to this as well. But you see that okay? So I just, yeah, add in a little colour to it. You don't need. And then we'll put proper colours on it later. Once this is dried. The leaves, they're mushrooms. There's another bit there. I think they're mushrooms, maybe. I won't do those bits green. I'll do these bits green there. These might actually be flowers. So actually, after doing them green, like later on as like finishing touches, I'll probably go over those with some bright colours for, like a pink or something like that. you see that the purple is like, it hasn't dried really purple. It just adds extra bit of shade into the tree, like, and it sort of almost dries brown as well because of the colour underneath it. So anyone that was worried about me choosing purple is, don't worry, kind of knew what I was doing, kind of. Right, leave those bits to dry. That needs to be done completely. Okay, let's do those mushrooms. These just so I can mark them out before I start shading, so I know where they all are. Use like a, so this is like, yeah, that off brown, off white I used for the dry brushing earlier. Oh, I haven't done any of the green bit there. Irritating. Let's play Spot the Mushrooms. Are you a mushroom? I don't know why you'd be growing all the way up there, but I'm saying you're a mushroom as well. There was some more. There they are on that side. Right. I don't think there's any more. I say that, and then as soon as I start painting something else, I'll find 10 more of them. Right, completely missed this bit of greenery down here. It's just like all leaves and I just completely ignored it. There you go. So I'm using this contrast like a shade, and I'm just putting it on the bits closest to the tree so that it looks a little bit more mushroomy. Just adding some shade underneath them as well, so they don't look quite so just like bright white blobs on my tree. This particular colour is snake bite leather, sort of an orangey brown. It's quite nice. You see it? Because it's that orangey brown, it looks like it blends into the tree a bit better. I'm probably going to use a bit of it just to put some shadow back in and a bit of around some of the green bits. Again, because we're just trying to build up the brown colour. Okay. You're able to focus on that camera. You see the little shrooms and the little bits of greenery, but we're going to continue to work on and do the leaves tomorrow. Right, before I go too much further with the branches, I'm going to try and get that stuck onto it so I can finish that bit as well. And then tomorrow do the leaves of all of them, and then start adding some little highlights onto the trunk itself. Right, okay, well, I'm going to leave that for now. It's come up to 9 o'clock my time. So we've finished the rock. I'm going to spray it with a matte spray because it's looking a bit shiny still in places. I'll take some photos of it tomorrow in the natural light so you can see, hopefully you'll be able to see more of the green and stuff that's actually on there that you can't seem to pick up on the camera. So come over to my Twitter tomorrow to see that. I'll put it on Facebook as well, but yeah, so that is one of the scatter pieces. I'm going to take some pictures without tufts and then I'll add some tufts because I love tufts. I love the tufts. Yeah, this one is sort of done now. There isn't a great deal you can do with stones. Except make them look like stones. So yeah, there's that one. And then yeah, finish the tree. So tomorrow morning I'll do an impromptu live again on YouTube and on Facebook. So same means, and we'll finish the leaves because I think they just need some. They're quite delicate, so they need some time and attention, and just add like highlighted bits to everything down here. Cool. Well, thank you for hanging out with me on my first video here. Hopefully you enjoyed it and maybe learned something. I don't know. I wasn't trying to teach you, so if you learned nothing, that's cool. I wasn't trying to teach you. But yeah, I'll keep things set up actually because I'm going to just use this tomorrow. Yeah, apart from that, follow me online. Follow me on Twitter. You can, my link tree is scrolling along the bottom of the page. I'll put a link in the video information as well, but it's linktr.ee/geekgirlbw. So Bravo Whiskey. And on there we'll have links to all of the ways you can interact with me online. And yeah, well, maybe I'll see you in the morning. If not, you can catch up with the video after it has aired and rewatch it if you aren't about, which is perfectly okay if you're not about. But thank you all. Good night. Good night. Bye.